La 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 la. Ah ah ah.
Hey, it's me again. So, as I said before, I'm just traveling to Earth. This is some special mission. I have to meet someone really, really special. So yeah, I will adopt human form once I'm just arrive. Meanwhile, I was just learning about human behavior and humans in general, and I fell in love with this girl named Charlie. I love this. I'm just obsessed with that sound. I love her, and I just wanted to meet her and hug her and sing with her all the time. Yeah, but something very interesting is that I found a podcast that calls Two Strangers, and I just started listening, and I think it's really, really interesting. So I will show it to you guys. I will listen this new episode that is about human stupidity. It's a theory. I don't know what the stupidity means. I just check on my computer, and it says behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment. But when it's referred to human stupidity, I don't understand, because I will meet one human in the earth that I have an appointment with him, but I don't know all the people. So I don't understand. So let's listen together. I will shut down the lights, and I will leave you with my co-pilots that are two beautiful bots that love me and I love them, and we're traveling together right now. They are co-piloting the spaceship. I just use my mind, and I don't know if you will understand this, but yeah, I will do Vipassana. That is a meditation that I found online, and I read about it, and I met Buddha. Which, yeah, as I said, I will just shut down the lights and I start doing this meditation while I will listen this wonderful podcast. I think it's really, I didn't know what it was about, but I hope you enjoy it. We see at the end. I send you all my love, interstellar love. No, just kidding. Enjoy it.
Have you ever noticed how these days especially, like everyone seems so stuck in their own beliefs? It's like, good luck trying to change anyone's mind, even with like tons of evidence. So today we're doing a deep dive on why is that? Why is it so hard to change minds? We're going to look at this guy, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German theologian and philosopher.
Yeah.
And get this, he was writing about this stuff while he was living through Nazi Germany. So talk about a front row seat to how dangerous ideas can like really grab hold of people.
Yeah, it's really interesting how his work from back then still like really applies now. Like you said, seeing how a whole society, even people you wouldn't think are like evil, could get caught up in something really dangerous.
And his theory is it's not just like people being stubborn, it's something he called stupidity. But he wasn't talking about like a lack of intelligence.
Exactly, yeah. He was saying it's more of a moral thing than an intelligence thing. He saw it as this like refusal to think critically about stuff, especially with like powerful ideologies.
Okay, so then how do we use this idea of stupidity to, I don't know, be more discerning, I guess, in our own lives? What are some like warning signs in ourselves and other people that might mean this kind of like uncritical thinking is happening?
So one thing Bonhoeffer said was really important was the danger of what he called external freedom without internal freedom.
Okay, two kinds of freedom. So it's not as simple as like think for yourself and don't be a jerk. What did he mean by that?
You're right. It's way more complex than that. Think of external freedom as freedom from something. So like freedom from systems that are like trying to control what you think, you know?
Yeah.
Cults or rigid social structures, even just stuff your family believes that you're not allowed to ever question. It's about breaking out of that.
So external freedom is like breaking free from the cage.
Yeah.
But then what about internal freedom? How do we make sure that I don't know, we're not just replacing one cage with a different one. So like if external freedom is about breaking free from these systems, then internal freedom is about what's going on inside like our own heads, right?
Yeah.
It's about taking responsibility for our own thinking.
Yeah, totally. Internal freedom is all about like building those critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
It's about questioning what we hear, even if it's coming from someone we trust, and not just like accepting stuff without thinking about it.
Right.
It's being open to changing our minds if we get new information.
I think we've all had those moments where it's like, wait a minute, have I just been accepting this thing as the truth because, I don't know, someone told me it was?
Yeah, totally.
like-
That's a great example of internal freedom right there. That moment you're like, hold on, maybe I should rethink this.
Yeah.
Bonhoeffer said that this kind of self-reflection is like super important for fighting against that stupidity, you know?
Yeah.
Because it helps us break free from those old ways of thinking that aren't very critical.
It makes you wonder, like, what are some of the things that we just accept now without even really thinking about them? Like, what are the, I don't know, the etheric bodies of our time, you know? Which, speaking of that, brings us to that totally wild story from the Two Strangers podcast about that CIA document and those Soviet experiments.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remind us about that whole thing?
Right. So the podcast host, we're talking about this CIA document that got declassified. I think it was from the 70s.
Yeah.
And it talked about this Soviet research into, wait for it, ectoplasm.
Okay. For those of us who haven't seen, like, Ghostbusters lately, remind us what ectoplasm is supposed to be.
Okay. So in, like, the paranormal world, ectoplasm is this unseen substance, this spiritual energy. Some people believe that, like mediums can channel it, and it's often shown as this, I don't know, kind of like ghostly goo.
And the Soviets were doing, like, actual research on this. What were they, like, hoping to find?
So according to this document, they were looking into if ectoplasm could be, like, I don't know, harnessed,
Wow.
maybe even used as a weapon, which
Oh,
sounds
right.
totally crazy to us.
Yeah.
But
It does, yeah.
yeah.
But if we think about it through, like, the lens of what Bonhoeffer was saying about stupidity, it takes on a whole other meaning, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just some group of, you know, like occult fanatics. We're talking about the Soviet government,
Right.
a powerful government,
Yeah.
potentially putting resources into something with like zero real evidence.
So it's maybe not about did they actually believe in ghosts, but more like what were they hoping to get out of this?
Right,
And
yeah.
what does that tell us about how powerful beliefs can be?
Yeah. And I think the historical context is important here too.
Yeah.
This was a time when everyone was really into spiritualism, seances,
Yeah.
Turlian photography,
Right.
all that stuff that claimed to show auras.
Right.
It was a whole cultural moment.
It makes you wonder what things people believe now that are going to seem totally crazy to people in the future. It's kind of wild when you think about it. Even with all the stuff we've learned, people can still get caught up believing things that might seem like totally ridiculous down the line.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about like Bonhoeffer's ideas. He wasn't just talking about Nazi Germany, right? He was talking about how this stupidity, as he called it, could happen anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
Even to people who seem, you know, smart and rational on the surface.
Especially with stuff that we want to be true.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we're really good at finding things that back up what we already believe, even if the evidence is, like, not that great.
Exactly. That's when not having that internal freedom, that willingness to say, maybe I'm wrong, that's when it can really mess us up. You know,
Yeah.
we get so attached to our beliefs or ideologies that they basically become part of who we are.
And then once it's part of your identity, it's, like, really hard to let go, even if you see that, like, maybe it's not so solid after all.
For sure. It's like we were talking about before. If you build your whole identity around something and then you start questioning that, well, you're questioning yourself. And that's scary for a lot of people.
So then how do we break out of that? How do we learn to question stuff, to be wrong sometimes, and be okay with changing our minds?
You know, I don't think there's like a one-size-fits-all answer.
Yeah.
But if we go back to Bonhoeffer, I think it starts with remembering that we don't know everything.
Right.
Being okay with being wrong.
Yeah.
Having a little humility.
It's like giving ourselves permission to keep learning and changing, right?
Totally.
Choosing curiosity over being right all the time.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's about actually listening to other points of view, even if they make us uncomfortable, and seeing disagreements as a chance to learn something new, not a fight,
Because if we're all just stuck in our own little bubbles, not even wanting to hear other perspectives,
right?
we miss out on all those opportunities to learn and grow, right?
Cool.
Both personally and as a society.
Yeah, and who knows what incredible stuff we might discover or what problems we could solve if we weren't so afraid to step outside our comfort zones.
So to wrap this up, cultivate your own internal freedom, question everything, and don't forget that humility thing. It's a lifelong thing, you know?
For sure, yeah.
But the more we're able to think critically and be open-minded, the better we'll be able to navigate all the complications of the world. And maybe even avoid falling into that trap of stupidity that Bonhoeffer was talking about.
Absolutely. And remember, the most dangerous stupidity might be the kind we don't even realize we're engaging in.
Oh, that's a good point.
So stay curious.
Yes, stay curious. That's great advice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
So, beautiful people, let me know what do you think about this podcast. Oh my God, so much interesting things about humans and how they apply this stupidity daily now, isn't it? So let me know what you think below and see you in the next episode. Mwah, mwah, love you. Oh yeah.